Hello, listen, I am really excited to be popping on with you guys today. I am Trish, your confidence coach, and we're talking about how to really stop self-sabotaging through emotional eating. Now, I want to let you know that I talk about emotional eating in a lot of different categories and contexts. It can be emotional eating, binge eating, stress eating, anything that you engage in that's not eating for your own, like that balance that you're thriving for. That's what we're going to classify as emotional eating. Catherine, hi. Thanks for saying hi. Hello to everybody out there. So we're going to be taking questions. I want to let you know a couple different things. I'm sharing with you today three principles. Megan, as always, thanks for saying hi. Hello. I created, you guys have, if you've been following me on social media, you know I have a new program that was released yesterday. It's only going to be available for about 4 weeks, and it's called The Donut Diet. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I want to share with you for free. I want to give you as much free as possible, always. But the principles in the donut diet are what are going to help you, whether or not you do the donut diet, are going to help you get free from this cycle of emotional eating however that plays itself out in your life. So first and foremost, we've got to stop beating ourselves up for eating emotionally. It's not about discipline. You falling off your diet, or you eating that extra cookie, or you eating ice cream at night even though you didn't mean to, has nothing to do with Catherine, that's right. Well, being bored has something to do with emotional eating, exactly. So let's call it boredom eating. So we got emotional eating, stress eating, boredom eating. But I think first and foremost, we have to stop pointing the finger at ourselves. Stop putting so much attachment to blame and saying to ourselves that it's a lack of discipline or a lack of will. For so many years, you guys, I was stuck in a cycle of emotional eating and binge eating and stress eating because I kept beating myself up and saying, okay, well, I fell off the wagon, so I might as well just have that extra cookie or pour another glass of wine, and then I'll be perfect tomorrow. I'm gonna do better tomorrow. I kept punishing myself. And you guys, let me tell you from experience, that doesn't get you very far. And Megan, if that resonates with you, I'd love to hear when your stress eating gets triggered, because here's the deal, you guys. I think so many, if we were all really honest, we probably have all struggled with a cycle of this to some capacity, right? So then you go, well, to what point does it serve me? It's not bad. So I think for me, I spent so many years going, I'm bad because I'm doing this bad behavior, and it's making me hold on to that last 5 pounds, and I'm gonna do better, and I need to be more disciplined, and I would berate myself and beat myself up. But the problem is I didn't realize that there was a real issue at hand. Emotional eating is a coping mechanism. You guys, stress eating is a coping mechanism. Boredom eating is a coping mechanism for us not knowing what we really feel or are doing. And so then I think for me, I found a lot of freedom when I gave myself permission to sit with my feelings. If I was bored, okay, well, what do you really want to do? Or is it okay to just give myself permission to think? That's a little scary sometimes. Or maybe if I'm bored and I feel like I'm not doing enough, then that causes me pressure, and then there's stress. If I'm stressed, it's easier to create the problem with something I know. Creating food as a problem, or creating a situation where I would overeat or over snack or whatever, would distract me from the real problem I was really worried about, and I would spend that time in my emotion beating myself up. That's a familiar problem. So I think for me, one of the most freeing things was understanding that that emotional eating is not bad. Stress eating is not bad. Hi, Linda. But it serves a purpose. So the first thing I want to do, I want to share with you, I promise you 3 principles. And as if you're new to the broadcast, here's a journal that I have created for my folks who are going to do the donut diet. And in the journal, there's what you can see in this journal. The reason I'm showing you this one particular handout is we have permission, pleasure, and patience. So those are my 3 foundational pillars that I really attribute to helping me break free from stress or emotional eating. So 1, permission. 2, pleasure. 3, patience. Giving myself permission to eat what I'm craving, right? Because I think sometimes it's just a general self-nourishment, giving ourselves permission, or to be slow and enjoy what I'm eating, or giving myself permission as well to feel what I'm feeling, to give myself permission to stop running away from my problem and creating my own stress by creating a situation where I'm mad at myself for what I ate, and instead I give myself permission to feel. I give myself permission to sit in this discomfort. Also, if I'm really craving food, I give myself permission to let myself have a little bit of something. And Sonia, I love your honesty. Thank you for that. I always give myself permission, but then I always overdo it and feel guilty. So I think the self-talk then needs to be, I gave myself permission and it was wonderful. And I am proud of myself for doing that. And I really believe in the power of a mantra, but also a third-party mantra. So here's what I would say, Sonia. So if I was in your situation, I gave myself permission to have a piece of chocolate, but I had 3 pieces of chocolate instead. I would say, I gave Trish, I gave myself permission. I love chocolate. And it's good that I honored that, and I honored that inner need, and I gave myself chocolate. And then I would talk in third party. I would say, Trish, you had permission to eat chocolate, and it's so good that you enjoyed it. And yes, you had 3 pieces of chocolate instead of 1, but Trish, you're fine. You were doing better than you think you are. Because there's actually, Sonia, I recently read there's scientific research, psychological research showing that when we're in a stressful situation, when we remove ourselves from that situation and speak about ourselves in a third person, what that does is it gives us creative and imaginative control to separate ourselves from that personalization of it. So there's actually power to saying, for me, like, I am enough. I'm a child of God. And then also then saying, Trish Blackwell is enough. Trish Blackwell is a child of God, right? So it works in the same situation for this, that when you're talking about giving yourself permission, you need to go back to the fact and say, I gave myself permission. And I think that for what I go into the donut diet and what I really want to hopefully will resonate is that there's no good food or bad food. We give ourselves permission to eat, and it's a good thing. Food is a wonderful part of life, which leads me to the second part of our journal, pleasure. So permission is that first pillar. Pleasure is the second pillar, is to say, like, I spent so many years, y'all, saying, oh no, I don't like pizza. No. Like, oh, I don't like ice cream. Because I thought, especially as a personal trainer, especially as somebody who speaks up about health and encourages people, I thought I needed to go, I don't even like that food. Now there's certain things, I don't like French fries. That's like the real. I do like sweet potato fries. And interestingly enough, this whole program I've put together, the donut diet, you guys, I don't even really like donuts, but I like the concept of donuts. And so in the donut diet, what you do, it's a non-diet diet where you give yourself permission to eat anything you want. And you pick your donut, and we go through a phase where you have it every day, and then we bring it back down, and you go through. You can find out more about it. I'm not spending my time here. That's not why I'm here for you today, but you can check that out at thedonutdiet.com. But the reality is that you go into it, and my donuts are coconut cake and chocolate, right? So you allow yourself permission, and then here's how you remove the guilt. Give yourself, Sonia, that full permission to have pleasure. So I think sometimes we say we give ourselves permission to enjoy something, but then we give ourselves permission with judgment. That doesn't work. If we're going to give yourself permission, you have to give yourself permission to truly enjoy what you're eating. And then, you know what? Here's the reality is that I think oftentimes we're coming back with so many years of possibly even decades of beating ourselves up and judging and critiquing our choices around food. And, oh, I should feel guilt. And culturally, we talk about this. Oh, I had 2 pieces of cake. Oh, that was so bad. We attribute morality to our choices, and then we feel bad, and we carry that burden. You guys, this goes so deep, which is what I go into in the donut diet to help you kind of start breaking apart some of those inner conversations so that they stop making you go crazy up here. Because the reality is that a lot of us think about this, but we think we're the only ones thinking that. It's a cultural conversation we all need to have more of. But so you've got to, I guess what I'm going back to is, we feel guilty because we've trained ourselves for years, decades, to feel guilty about our food choices. So I want to remind you, as you give yourself permission to, that's column 1, to then have pleasure and thoroughly enjoy what you're eating, you're going to have that inner self-talk, that pep talk, even if you hear my voice saying to you, you were allowed to have that. It's good. We're going to have to sort of to learn to detox that guilt you feel. You're going to have to learn to kind of reaffirm the truth in your mind that I gave myself permission and I love having pleasure in what I'm doing. By the way, guys, if this topic is resonating with you, or if you have a friend you feel like is always dieting, or you guys are fitness gym buddies, this is a non-diet approach to dieting. what I want to talk about, and what I'm talking about with these three ways to really stop self-sabotaging yourself with emotional eating is they're principles that are going to help you learn to trust yourself and to eat intuitively. So please share this broadcast with a friend who you know this would resonate with, or tag them and invite them into the conversation. So those are our two pillars: permission, pleasure, and then pillar number 3, you guys, is patience. Being patient with yourself, and that means a lot of things. One, I think it means being patient with your food, and actually as you eat your food. Like because I would have guilt, and because of my past eating habits, I had a lot of judgment around what I ate. And so when I ate, I would eat really, really quickly. So I've had to be very intentional the last 8 years about slowing down when I eat. And that, there's a lot of different ways I do that. But it's a practice. I'm not perfect at it. And that's what's cool. It's an experiment, because this isn't when I'm talking about these columns, these permission, pleasure, and patience, and breaking this self-sabotaging habit that you might have with emotional eating has nothing to do with doing it perfectly. That's why we emotionally eat. We want to do things perfectly. Megan, you said that it gets triggered from your stress eating gets triggered from fights, and right. I think any sort of emotional dissonance, when we're not sure what to do, food can feel like a friend. It can feel very comforting, and I think there needs to be a question that you ask yourself: does this serve me? It's okay if you go yourself, do I give myself permission to eat this food? Am I going to have pleasure in eating this food? And is it going to give me patience? And when it comes down to pleasure, I'm looking at the long term of pleasure. Yeah, does especially when you're eating emotionally, does it taste good right then? Yes. But is it going to still give me pleasure 20 minutes from now, when I'm potentially feeling guilty? So I want you to start asking yourself that next question. Do I have permission? Am I going to experience pleasure from this? And then how can I be patient as I eat? Because what I've learned from my own experience and that of my clients is that when you're emotionally eating or binge eating or stress eating, it's often pretty quick. Right? So I want you to use that third pillar, the pillar of patience, to slow down. And that's being patient with yourself, but then it's also being patient with your emotions. So one reason we emotionally eat and we binge eat and we stress eat is because we're not sure what to do with something that's uncertain in our life, right? Maybe you found out you have a sick child and you're not sure what to do about it because you've got some decisions to make. You might have a financial pitfall that's happening, or maybe a fight with a loved one, or maybe you're just feeling insecure and like a little antsy. There's all these different things. And what we do in the donut diet, and I'm going to work with you on, is helping you really identify when this happens and what to do about it. But in the meantime, I want you to allow yourself to go, I can be patient with this emotion. And I can be patient with myself as I'm walking my journey of life, because I'm convinced that a lot of the reason that we emotionally eat or binge eat or stress eat is because we're not happy with where we are in our life. We're not, Veronica, hi, I'm going to see you very soon. We're not happy with maybe the progress. We think we're doing everything so well, and we're on point, and we're super, super excited. And then we get on the scale, and it's like, oh, what was the point? We beat ourselves up when we compare ourselves on social media to somebody else, and we go, well, I'm working so hard, but why do they have more engagement, or they have more sales, or their business is growing and mine's not? Or you post a picture of your family, and then your friend posts a picture of their family. Why does your friend get more likes than you, right? We get wrapped into all these different weird ways that we subconsciously assess our value. And depending on how we fall short or not, sometimes we get driven into a cycle of self-sabotage. And that's to create, I really think it's because we want to create a distraction to the real problem that we're feeling. So being patient, one, with your progress, being patient with being in the present moment, and being patient with yourself as you learn to create a better sense of self-trust with yourself around you and food. And that you guys, when it comes to emotional eating, I think one of the deepest scars that we get from it is that we lose our own self-trust. We get so angry at ourselves for overeating even though we know better, right? Then we beat ourselves up and we start bullying ourselves, and then we're disappointed. And that starts this, crazy cycle. Like, you're mad at yourself, but you know what's worse? Think about when your parents are mad at you. Like, that's cool. But when they're disappointed in you, am I right? And I think that's what emotional eating does. It makes you disappointed in yourself, or we often interpret that to be that, which is worse, because then we feel this sense of resignation and disappointment in ourselves, and then we feel like that this is defining us. And I want you to know it is not defining you. And I think one of the ways we can start breaking free from the self-sabotage that it's doing to your health is to just stop putting judgment on yourself for it and start saying, I have the courage to face what I'm really feeling. And I have the courage to change these habits and these patterns. And I have the courage to believe that I can learn to love food in a different, more freeing way, that I can learn to be patient, that I can learn to trust that I can eat one donut, not 12, right? That I can eat a few crackers or chips and salsa and not the whole bucket, the whole basket, that I can learn that my body is sending me messages, and I've just not listened to it for so long because I've just been, sorry guys, call come in, and then I'm gonna be able to take action and love myself for where I'm at. So self-kindness, self-nourishment, self-love is so huge. And it's the belief, I need you to fundamentally have a belief that you can find freedom, that you will no longer self-sabotage, that it is a subconscious choice that you should not feel bad about, but that you should recognize is an act of self-preservation of some extent. It's self-nourishment in a way that maybe you didn't see was that before. So one of the antidotes to that, to getting to the point where you're gonna emotionally eat or self-sabotage, is to emphasize more self-kindness, more self-love. In fact, in the donut diet, I have a whole kindness journal that we talk about. How do I engage in self-kindness in a way that I don't need to fill myself and refuel myself emotionally from emotionally eating? That I can start rebuilding from the inside out versus the outside in, because that's more lasting, right? So, and if you're just joining us, our 3 pillars to help stop self-sabotage when it comes to emotional eating. Give yourself permission to enjoy food, and then allow yourself pleasure, and then start learning how to be patient with your results, patient with eating, patient with understanding this process, patient with gaining self-trust. Now, I want to open this up. I've got a few minutes I could hang around and answer any questions for anyone who's struggling with self-sabotage. Please let me know by hitting like and sharing this if this resonated with you. Like I said before, there's so many of us in this culture of perfectionism and dieting and this new trend and that we pull each other in. Thank you, Amy, for the love. We pull each other in, and we have diet talk, and we self-sabotage, put pressure. What if we were to change the dialogue to something more positive? What if we would lead with kindness and love to our girlfriends, to ourselves, and just start saying, I don't have to go into a constant state of restriction. I believe that life is good. I believe I can have a glass of wine and a piece of chocolate every day. I believe I can have some days where I work out really hard and some days where I take the day off. That true health is balance and understanding and a sense of self-trust. Dealing with sugar addictions. That's a great question, Megan. I would say dealing with sugar addictions is right, because when we incorporate a lot of sugar into our diet, it does pull us in and make it really hard to say, to listen to our self-trust, to know that we've had enough of what we want to eat that day. So in an effort to have a better understanding and inner dialogue, I do believe in being mindful of your sugar intake. And you really do feel like you have an addiction to sugar, I would encourage you to track your sugar for a few days and look at your total grams of sugar. Not in a controlling, I want to manipulate and diet way, but just in an empowering way, that you can start seeing where sugar is in your diet, and then you get this sense of self-control by proving to yourself that you can start limiting and minimizing it. That doesn't mean no sugar allowed ever. It means look at your breads and see which options are better. I like Ezekiel bread. I like looking at using tomatoes versus a ketchup if I want a ketchup-based thing. But finding an empowering way to reduce your sugar is a really amazing way to increase your confidence, and then it goes back to that self-trust. I think one reason we emotionally eat and we feel like sometimes we're subconsciously self-sabotaging, and then we feel disappointed, is because we don't really trust ourselves around food. And I don't think it needs to be that way. I think we make it way too hard on ourselves, right? And it goes back to my principles. with the donut diet, I give myself permission to have more pleasure and to be patient in the process. Great question, Christina, about dealing with portions. With portion control, I think for me, one of the solutions that's worked well is just pre-portioning myself. So I cooked here's an example, a small example. I cooked a cauliflower crust pizza last night, and I portioned it out to the 4 portions. I put those away. I put a slice of cheese. I put my others, I put some grapes, whatever else I was going to plan on eating, and I put it in a Tupperware so that it was there. So that I don't have to think. I know that when I'm stressed, so one of the triggers to emotional eating or to just self-sabotage when it comes to portion control, which I think sometimes you're right, Christina, when we overeat unintentionally, we then feel guilt and we go, well, what's the point? I'll keep eating. Or we carry that guilt. And that guilt, you guys, guilt increases your cortisol levels, which increases your belly fat, right? I mean, if we really break it down, guilt is not good. And so the fact that we associate so much guilt with food and then wonder why we can't get rid of belly fat, it's kind of crazy. So so buying a plate, just little Tupperwares, little glass Tupperwares, and that really helps me. Then there's the other thing though. Then Christina, when sometimes I have my portion of whatever I have, like I've prepackaged my snack or my dinner or whatever, and if I still want something else, I just wait. I make sure I'm well hydrated, and then I wait a few extra minutes, and then I say, okay, Trish, like I honor that desire to want more. It's okay to want more than that perfect portion, because again, this is not about doing things perfectly. It's an experiment to know, what does my body need? What is it that I'm actually craving and wanting? So sugar addictions, I think I've covered that. Yeah, and I also, for snacks, I package up my snacks. I bought these really great stasher bags, which are an alternative to plastic. They're amazing. Stasher, S-T-A-C-H, not C-H, S-T-A-S-H-E-R, stasher.com. I love them. They're bright, they're colorful, they're environmentally friendly, they're healthy for us. I don't get a kickback on that, by the way, just really, really that happy with the product. And what it does is it makes it so it's a non-brainer, right? And I don't think the fact that sometimes portion control is hard for everyone means that we should feel bad about ourselves. I think that, again, it's removing the judgment, removing the guilt will give you freedom. And the reality is that the lives we live are so busy, they're so full, that sometimes we expect so much of ourselves, too much. And I think we need to be a little bit more kind and understanding and grace-filled when we beat ourselves up for going, I should be more disciplined in this. I should have a better sense of self-control. Or the reality is that when you're fatigued, your choices and your willpower go down. And it's not about willpower. It's really with portion control or sugar control. It's about awareness. It's about, again, but that goes back to what I talk about in the donut diet, your patience, being patient with yourself, and saying, what is it that I'm feeling? What is it that I'm craving? What is it that I'm desiring? Amy, I've got part of your question. Anytime I try a new diet, I'm not sure what the rest of your question is, but if you could pop the rest of that question in, I will answer that. I'm guessing that anytime you try a new diet, you feel stressed or overwhelmed, or maybe that you feel like you have to do it perfectly. And I think that that's a lie that has been given to us and handed to us by culture and society to say, oh, there you are, you're finishing your thought, to say either you do it right or you don't. And I think there's a middle ground, you guys, because I think that we need to remember that if you actually follow through on what you say you're going to do, and this goes to anything, your nutrition, your fitness goals, your life goals, your business goals, your relationship goals, if you do what you say you're going to do, you will be successful. Now, when it comes to that doesn't mean you have to be perfect. You just have to do what you say you're going to do. And if you say you're going to be kind to yourself, you need to extend that to your life here with food. If you say that you're going to learn to find balance, that goes with food, and that goes with forgiveness. I think one of the things that causes emotional eating to happen and really get a ball that what it does is it snowballs into creating resistance that keeps you from results. And it only does that because we allow guilt into the equation. We go, I didn't have permission to do that, or we didn't give ourselves permission to have the full pleasure in that process, and we weren't patient. And then therefore we feel guilty, and then we overdo it, and then we go, well, what's the point? Throw in the towel. I already made a mistake. I might as well go all in. So that guilt drives that all-in behavior, which that all-in behavior, the whatever attitude, then does perpetuate weight gain. And then we feel bad about ourselves, and then we're like, oh, all this work, and here I am self-sabotaging. I know better. Guys, this is not about knowing better. This is about being kind. This is about learning to love yourself and say, today you needed a little bit more sugar. It's okay, Trish. Good for you. Way to listen to yourself. Okay, so you're finishing your thought. You said, Amy said, anytime I try a new diet or way of eating, my family and friends always sabotage me. So I tend to do it in secret, which doesn't feel good. Oh, girl, nothing feels good in secret. And I want to encourage you to speak up for yourself. If you feel like other people around you are sabotaging you, I think you need to speak up for the support you really truly need, and setting boundaries. But the reality is that nobody can sabotage you but yourself. And so I think that that's an attitude shift, just to stop letting yourself be victimized by other people sabotaging. You have control of you, full control. And I think that if you give yourself permission to feel that and sit in it and take ownership of any self-sabotage, that will give you freedom. But again, you might feel like sabotage is happening because maybe every past diet or trend you've done has been too extreme, and you've emphasized and focused on, I have to do this perfectly, and if it's not perfect, it's just not worth doing. And so to me, it sounds like a blend of taking more ownership, but then also give yourself permission to have some days where it's not perfect. To have some days where hey, I took 5 steps forward yesterday, but only 3 today. It's okay. I'm still going in the right direction. So I hope that is helpful. I mean, thank you. That was let me know and I want to encourage you. I want to challenge you. Don't do anything in secret with food. It's just, what it does is it tells your body, your internal mind, that you can't trust yourself, and you can't trust those around you, and that what you're doing is shameful, or that you should be embarrassed of the effort it takes, or that if only people know. I don't think we should perpetuate any kind of secrecy. I know we all do. So Amy, I appreciate your vulnerability, because I would say 80% of people who are going to watch this are going to go, oh yeah, me too. Like, we do things in secret, or we struggle with emotional eating or overeating in secret, and we think, well, if only people knew this. And it's so funny. I was having a conversation with a client this morning. We were talking about the donut diet, and we were talking about emotional eating and breaking free. And I think we came to this conclusion that one of the most insidious things about emotional eating that really makes people feel stressed and we feel more shame is the fact that we beat ourselves up, and the self-talk goes something like this. Come on, Trish, this is food. You can't handle food. You surely can't do anything, right? It's something, and if only people knew that you can't figure it out with food, and if they knew you were eating in secret, if they knew that you were stressed about this, or that you were thinking how much you thought, man, what would they think of you? And I say this because I lived this. I know this. That's why I created the donut diet. That's why I'm so passionate about coaching on this. That's why, you guys, I didn't even mention this. This week's podcast, in the Confidence Podcast, is on this. So please, if anything, I would love for you to get hooked up in the donut diet. I have poured my heart and soul into it. And again, it's only going to be available this month of October. So get on it. It's thedonutdiet.com. But I just want to help you. So if this is resonating with you, whether you're watching live or watching the replay, please go to trishblackwell.com/286. It's a free podcast episode of my show where we talk about why emotional eating happens and how to stop it. So that's it, episode 286, why emotional eating happens and how to stop it. And I think what's so interesting is what I was going back and saying, my client and I were discussing, one of the most isolating and shame-filling things that keeps emotional eating on its sabotaging path in our lives is that we convince ourselves that we're pathetic, that we can't figure food out, or that and that we should feel shame because nobody else is struggling the way that we are. And I want you to know that is just a lie. It is not true. This is a complicated emotional issue. This has really nothing to do. Emotional eating, you guys, I hate to break it to you, has very little to do with food. Very, very, very little to do with food. Very, very little to do with discipline. Very, very little to do with willpower. It's all about your emotional management of stress. And so I hope that encourages you, which is crazy because I made it about food for so long. It's not about the food. So Christina, you said, oh good, you're replying to Amy. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I believe experimentation is huge. And if we give ourselves permission to experiment, we have more freedom. So let's remove judgment. And again, the 3 pillars to really help you stop sabotaging yourself with emotional eating is give yourself permission, give yourself pleasure, and have more patience. We go into that even more detail in the donut diet. So go check that out, thedonutdiet.com. Message me with any questions, and let's definitely get you listening to this week's podcast, why emotional eating happens and how to stop it. And you guys, please share the love, spread, if this live coaching session was helpful in any capacity, tag a friend, share it with somebody who kind of is feeling that pressure too. We all feel this pressure, and it's time we start talking about it and saying, I am enough, I have freedom, I can love food, eat donuts, and have an amazing, beautiful body all at the same time. And I wanna live and eat without judgment. So, Megan shared, oh, you're the best. You guys, high fives, send you love, and I hope you check out the podcast. Let me know what your biggest takeaway from the podcast is when you're done listening. Come back and post in the comments below. All right, bye. Happy Tuesday.